Hello, Anushka Dinal Lenege again with question set 18. Like I said before, from 16 to 20, this will be a big part of this scenario right here. So, um, this is the scenario that has been given right here. Basically, the principal of this school called Kalugula Junior College wants to put all the term examination marks of the students into a database so that it can be viewed easily. So we work as a software engineer at this company that has been hired to make this database for the school. So we have been tasked with creating the database. So that's it. So we from question 16 to 17 we did questions uh, uh, that are related to the scenario. Now we're going to question 18, which is also related. So, so in question set 16, we created the student table containing details of students, the class table which contains details about the classes, subject class, the subject table which contains details about the subjects taught at the school, and the term ID, the exam uh, term, the term examinations details about that, the term ID, the term name, and the date of the exam. So those are the tables we have created so far. So now we are going to insert some data into uh, we're going to insert some data into this class table right here. So back at the ER diagrams. So we have made this in the previous questions. We did all this, and I basically forward engineered it. I forward engineered this table, and uh, now it's a database, and now I can use HideSQL to make queries for inserting data in this. So this is the same database that we have created here. All the tables, the student, class, subject, student, exam, mark record, exam term are all here, as you can see. So for this, what we're going to do is enter these data into our tables, and we have been instructed to use queries like insert uh, queries and so on. So let's do it. So it says in the first question, enter data in the table below to the class table. So we'll be making a enter this data into the class table. So class ID and in this here class ID, and we have to enter in a class name. So that's basically what we're doing, class ID and class name. Right, so I'm gonna click here to data. So now show a few tabs, and then I'm gonna click on a new query tab, right click, and I'm gonna insert some data into this class table. So I'm writing insert into, and this will be the database name. I have done this in a previous episode where I have done this before, going into much detail. So press dot and I'm going to set the table. This is the table right here, class table, and put brackets. Class ID. That's so we are going to put the column names right here. Class ID, that's going to be column. We're going to add our columns into this, and also the class name column. And then values. Right. And now I'm going to write in the data we have to add here. So this says right here ID for this column, ID is 1 and the class name is 11A. And class name is 11A. Right. So this is this would go to class ID. This value will be inserted to class ID call the class ID column. This would be added to the class name column. So class name column. So let's insert and see what happens. Right, so let's see if that worked. Yes, here we are. This is our first. We got a class ID number 1 and class name. Right, class name is nice. Good. Right, let's add the next one, which is basically ID is 2 and the class name is 11B. This class ID is 2, class name is B. Right. So that's how we now have entered these details into the class table right here. Alright, now let's move on to the second question. This time we'll be entering these data into the student table. So student table. So we add all this data into the student data. So we have index number, first name, last name, gender, contact number, class name. So we'll add all this data. We'll add all this data which is here. You can add it to IDSQ. Let's start. I don't need to rewrite this entire thing. So there's the class. let me just student, and then put the columns in the students table. So these are the column names here. And now I'll be writing the data which is here. So first the index number and everything. So I'll be writing down the data values that we need to add to these tables. Right, so I added the values here. Right, let's see how this happens. Let's see how this works out. So I've added this value, the index number, first name, last name, gender, and everything. I've added everything. Um, let's see how this works. Let's see this thing. Right. The class name here. So the class ID would be so I'll add the class ID here. Right. So that's I'm gonna add the class ID column. That's a foreign key right here. When we joined it up with the relationship with the class entity over here in our ER diagram. So I'm gonna call it just one. So one, like I said before, to avoid so these data is replicated very much. These are basically the same, So like I said in the previous video, I'll be putting the ID. So instead of class a name, I'll be putting 1 for 11A, 2 for 11B, just to save data and avoid duplication. So I'll go more detail that in our previous episode. I'm just gonna press 1. Right. Right. So I will run it. See what came up. Nice. Alright, so we have our first stream here. Right. Good. Okay, now we'll go into the next couple of data to be entered in here. So I'll just go right through that. I'm not gonna rewrite the entire query statements again. I'm just gonna change stuff here just to make our lives easier. And for, like I said, for so it says here the class, this person's class is 11B, so I'm going to put 2 here to signify that. Seems like it went off without a hitch. Right. Okay. So I'll be adding this. Let's move on. Right. I think. Right. I think this should be enough. We have added. All right. So I've added the rest of the student details shown in this table here. Right. So 5, 6, 7, 8. I've added all their details using the same query that I've used before. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Right. So now we move on to the subject table. So we're gonna enter all this data into the subject table here. Right. So let's do that. Say it's insert into exam. It's EB subject. I'll write down the columns. Subject name. And we're going to fill our data. So, ID first. Go to our subject ID and mathematics. Right. So I'm going to run this. So far so good. There we go. Alright, so cool, we have made subject. So this is subject ID is 1 and the subject name is mathematics. Alright, right. So onward to the next one. So we have the second one. ID is 2 and it's science. Let's do that real quick. Alright, now let's run this. Okay, and so far so good. Refreshing, and we got that. Alright, let's move on to single language and literature. Same as before, ID is 3 and single language and literature. Right, run it, and boom, here we go. Right, so that's all for the subject table, and now we go on to the exam term table. So we're going to enter data through here. Right, so I'm going to exam table right here. There's all this. Right, so here we have the ID, term name, and the exam date. So let's do that. Let's add in our details. So do that. Let's add in our details. So yeah, so we have term ID, same deal as before, putting column names. Right, and exam date. Right, then type values, and then we're gonna add in our values. So this would be ID is 1, first term, and then the date. Right. We have the ID, term name, and the exam date. So that's alright. Right. On to the next one. This time is second term. We change the date slightly. Right, so that's term dates right here. And now let's move on to question number 5. So let's go on to question number 15. So here we have to add all this data to the table student exam mark record. So we have to add all this data to that. So just table ID. So as you said before, student exam mark record holds the exam will record the marks gained by the students in the exams. So for every subject, not just one. So as you can see, they will have this table will have the students marks for mathematics, science, and single language and literature, or both first term and second term marks, the term examination marks, everything will be stored here. So we have to add these query to this table right here. So to do that, we can't just add one record, allocate one record to a student. No, you can't do that. So there are six marks here, 6 marks that has to be entered, uh, that belongs to the index, that belongs to the index number of a student. So 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 we have to create 6 records. We have to make 6 queries for one student. 6 queries, 6 insert queries to for one student. So let's try that. So I'm going to go into here, say insert into. I'll write the database name here. So here for some of that, the column the column names to this right here. Values. And for the subject ID, so first first subject ID for mathematics is 1, so we're going to put 1 here. And exam term ID, that's the first term. We're adding the first term mathematics, first term examinations mathematics marks. So first term, the ID is also 1, so we're going to add 1 here. Right, and then our marks is 50. Right, see, let's run it. Refresh it. There we go. Okay, right, now we have to make another 5 more records uh, records like this for STU001. So for student, so then we're gonna add the, so We are now adding the second term mathematics mark, so the ID would be of the subject name would be 1 still, but the second term for the exam term ID it's 2 because it's the second term. And this time the mark will be 42.12.1. Right. Okay. That's it on that. Right. Now. Okay. And all right. Now that's that. Okay. Now we're gonna add. Now we're gonna add the science, the first term and second term examination marks for science. So that's gonna go to 2. 2. So the subject name ID will be 2. Term name is 1. So that's the first term examination. So that will become 1. And the mark would be 85. Standard marks would be 85. All right. Right. And now we're gonna. So now we're gonna add the second term. So the ID will be 2. Second term. So and this time the mark would be 95. All right. Right. Okay. And what's next? All right. Now the last one: singer, language, and literature. So same deal as before. First, the the subject name ID will be turned to 3. That's the ID, and will be the first term, and the exam term ID will be 1. And the mark says here 78.5. 78.6. Right. And then last but not least, the exam term will be 2 for second term. 3 remains the same, the subject name ID remains the same. This is the exam term ID. I'll change to 2, and we're going to change the mark to to 78.5. Alright, okay. Alright, doing a spot check on that. Right. Okay, so this is what we're gonna. So six records, 6 marks that have to be input. 6 records, six marks that have to be input. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. So I've added all the data here. So I've added all these data of all the students. 6 records for each student. 6 records, 6 marks. Under each student there are 6 records. So that's all for question set 18. Thank you very much for watching.